Well, welcome back everyone. We're just gonna dive right into this and get to it. Alright, that stands out like a sore thumb, doesn't it? Well, if I had this color of paint, I would have painted it the right color. But now that that's painted that color, I'm just gonna do this one the same color, and it will look alright. So, these guys are already in here. These are 5879s. And it's funny that those particular tubes were left in this amp. The rest of these are all octal 8-pin sockets, which is kind of cool. I got some tubes here. I'm going to go through them one by one. 6SJ7, 6SJ7, 6SN7, 6SN7, A6SL7. It's the third tube. This is a 5Y3 rectifier. Yeah, here we go. And then we got two 6V6s sitting in the front here. It's an interesting tube layout, I must say, and they are very close together. Yeah, now we're all set to go. Alright, so I got power, and there's no smoke. I have 263. Only thing is, I got no sound. I got sound at the input, and I got sound at the tone controls, but no sound at the output. And it's weird because, yeah, I got sound there. I got nothing at the phase inverter though. Nothing there. I got sound here, the tone stack. What's going on here? I mean, I got the wax caps in there, but that's not the issue. Got filaments lighting. They're getting warm. They feel like they're biased. And they're not super hot. Wait a second. That 6SL7 looks like... Interesting. Y'all know about real-time tube swapping, right? Oh, that's a dirty socket, man. Real-time tube swapping. 6SN7, 6SN7.
One eternity later.
I don't want a 6SN7, I want a 6SL7. That's a 6SN7 too. 6SF5.
Eventually.
This is a 12SL7. Alright, that's the one I end up sticking with, I guess. Still got no sound. Yikes. You just got to bear witness to some real-time pain and agony of working on this stuff. As you can see, I cut this out because of, like, when I first tried to fire this up, it had the B plus was almost nothing, and so then I was like, well, what the heck? And when you have just a little bit of B plus, it was like 50 volts, and then it was just sagging right down to nothing. You gotta check your center tap first. Because if your center tap is not grounded, you won't have proper B+. And that's why you see this in here. Because although they have it soldered to this tab down here in the chassis, it's not making good enough connection. And even though I measured it with the meter and it seemed to be making good enough connection, it really wasn't. Because as soon as I put this in here, I had full B+. Now, I had no audio at the phase inverter output. And yeah, I think there are tubes. I think that the output tubes were biasing a little bit, but there was nothing there. Over here, At the input, it was nice and loud. At the tone, I had volume. That's why a signal tracer is really useful. But at the phase inverter, there's just nothing. All pretty much nothing. And so then I said, all right, first thing to check, is the phase inverter getting power? Apparently not, because I went, the power's supposed to be coming from here. I tugged on that wire, and that wire just fell right off. So, let's hook this up and see what happens. Got about 204 volts on here. Oh, I hear audio. It's not very loud. Let's push the B plus up. Oh, here it comes. It's crunchy. So far, I do have a working output transformer. That's good progress. 170. If I keep pushing the B plus, it gets better. Now we're at a level where that bass. Oh. Oh yeah. Listen to that noise level. I'm using my good ProAC speaker, of course, to do a test run, which I shouldn't really be doing. The transformer, of course, will isolate DC from the speakers. A nice thing with a tube amp is that you never have to really worry about DC going to your speakers to cook them. Now, if the transformer primary and secondary have flashover, then yes, then you can have DC, but it's very unlikely. Yeah, that noise floor is not the greatest, just because I have no negative feedback set up. I'm going to have to figure that all out later on. Oh, I love that. Listen to that. It's actually pretty quiet, considering that I've only got 2 filter capacitors in this. I got a 39 microfarad at 500 volts and a 22 at 450, which is filtering the screen section and the preamp section, and that's it. So, I'm pretty impressed. Oh man, all these pots though. That's DC noise. It's probably these damn wax caps leaking DC onto my on my pots. Over here. Oh, we got 91 volts sitting there. Sitting at that pot. I don't think there's supposed to be 91 volts there. Yeah, there it is again. That's a dead short. That capacitor is, that one right there is a dead short. And that's just exactly why you always replace them. Because, yes, they'll pass signal. They'll pass signal through. They'll sound great. But they'll also pass DC through to the next stage. And that's why that's DC noise. And that's sort of the same deal here too, I'm thinking. So here's a rather sketchy looking schematic that I downloaded just to take a look at it very quick. So the capacitor that we were reading, it was one of these ones here from these preamp sections for the mic preamp. And yeah, it was just passing DC right through from one side to the other. Those old wax caps. And then there's the center tap of the power transformer, which is actually coupled with the filament. I wonder if they're tied in the same point. Probably are. There's that choke that is open. I mean, for the sake of originality, I could rewind the choke, but I don't know. There's so many other issues with this amp I gotta sort out first. Output transformer, of course, which now only has a 4 and 8 ohm tap, and that's literally all I could fit on that bobbin. I'm glad that's all I did, and this this switch will be going, and I'll just replace it with two 1/4 inch jacks for the 4 and 8 ohm tap. So here's the phase inverter here, and that was the one that was I had no power getting to it, so it had no power going to the output tubes. It had no drive there. And these, that 0.05 and that 0.05 are the two capacitors you must always replace when you're working on these. Otherwise, they will over-bias your output tubes, and which can result in an open primary of the output transformer. In this case, it wasn't actually that particular issue that caused it to go open, I don't think. Now, it did have an arc between the primary and secondary, which is not good, but it had it was corrosion that ate the wires away. Like whatever they used for coating the insulating it broke down the insulation, which, I mean, it might have been that they were arcing anyways. That might have been the cause. But yeah, those two wax caps, that's very bad to have those there. Hopefully this is helpful for anyone trying to work on one of these. I mean, a lot of this stuff applies to any of this vintage equipment. You know, it sounds like you have a bad pot, when in reality you got DC going to your pot. Yeah. And this is the 81B15. Let's turn it down for a moment. That rectifier is toast. I'm actually quite satisfied with the overdrive that it has, but that rectifier's got to go. Never seen that before. I'd say that is all that I'm going to get into for today. I'm very happy with how this turned out so far, because that output transformer, man, that's spend 10 hours, 8-10 hours, and then have it work is just amazing. I only got a 4 and 8 ohm tap. That's all I could fit onto that bobbin. If I had the right tensioning equipment, I could probably rewind it exactly the way it was. But the fact that it worked, that saved me about $175 to replace the output transformer. This is a cool little amp. I will clean it all up. I'll go through and these caps here, I'm gonna try to restuff them just because they actually look kind of cool. And then, yeah, it actually turned out pretty good, all things considered. The everything on the underside, like all these capacitors are going to be replaced. This sat on my shelf for since 2014, so I mean that's like what, 6 years. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you guys found it helpful, and we'll see you next time.